pictures behind your mom.
Oh, yeah.
None of the family feels the way I do about them. That's okay.
That's all right. They survived.
They do.
That's right. Well, good. Well, we're excited to be with you guys.
Thank you so much for agreeing to, both of you. I miss you guys like crazy.
We miss you too.
I don't know how much you know, Mary, but I harass your son like crazy every time I see him.
I hope so.
Well, you know, if y'all know Ashley, if you
They
know
do.
Ashley, you have to be prepared when she comes up to give you a hug. It's either going to be a pinch or it's going to be a hug. It's going to be a shot to the arm. But who doesn't love Ashley? So how do you like your new home, by the way?
Love it. So glad that we're here and we were just talking about that the other night, and not quarantined at the other one. There's a lot more to do on this property. Kind of like you when we were talking. I don't hunt, but I could.
Yeah. Well, we always had this idea that we got deer and that kind of stuff on the property, and we grew up hunting deer. But then when we got out there, we started seeing all these deer coming across our own property. All of a sudden, it's like, these are our pets. And so we wanted to see these pets with these nice big antlers grow. And so we have those, and I don't like the hogs, I have to be honest, because they tear up your property. But
you have wild hogs?
Yeah, these are in Texas, well, pretty much across the United States. I don't know how it is in California, but these are wild pigs.
We don't have those.
A pig, this is going to sound really crazy, but a baby pig, this is why you came to the call today, so you could learn this. A baby pig can breed when it's 6 months or older. And a 6 month or older pig will have 2 to 3 litters a year. And there might be 15 to 20 in a litter in some cases, usually 10 plus. And they come in and they use their snout to go in and root for, to push up grass, root for roots, and it tears your properties up.
Wow.
And so anyway, so we
had no idea. They're like rabbits.
Very much so. Very much so.
All right. We are live. We still have people that are jumping in, but go ahead. I guess, you know what, I'll just start because you probably don't know this, but for years before I officially met either of you, kind of stalked you guys. And just to get it literally in close physical proximity, because your energy is just so doggone good and you exude love. You both just do. And in times when I would be in rooms where I didn't feel I would belong there, I just have to get close to you guys and my confidence went up. So I appreciate that immensely. And then for me, getting to know you two at Recharge a couple years ago, even more, and really hang out and go to a show. And that was really precious night for me. So thank you again for agreeing to be here with our people today.
Absolutely. Well, Ashley, I have to, since you and I have built this friendship over the last 4 years, when did you start coaching for MAPS?
2014.
So you went about a year and a half beyond what I did. And, Ashley's one of those people who's a lot of fun loving, but she can ask you a question that will help you uncover some great strengths within yourself. And that's what I've always loved about you, Ashley. And you come in there ready to go, and but you make it fun. So I appreciate that about you. So,
well, thank you. It's got to be fun. No reason to do it if it's not fun.
That's exactly right. So, well, let's jump right in, guys. And thank you again, Ashley, for inviting us to be a part of your market center and all the people that are here to join us. We know that your time is critical, and you're probably going through some of the same things that we are here. This right behind me is my house. I'm in my house. I've been working since 1986 when I got out of college, and I've always been in a corporate setting, a corporate environment. I've never worked from the house, and that was really by design. And I never thought I'd do it. after doing this now for what is our 6th week and being shelter in place, I think I'm getting used to it. Of course, my wife she says, I need space without you in it. So I may be kicked back to the corporate setting when that does get opened up again. We wanted to take just a few minutes. When Ashley came and asked me, she goes, hey, I'd love to get your mom and yourself on this call. And I wanted, I know that you've had some really great talent that has already come in and has shared. And I'd love to share. And it came as a result from my mom, addicted to growth, addicted to learning. And to be quite honest with you, when this pandemic hit, it's not been good for our country health-wise. But I will tell you that I got real excited because we were going to get to go into another market that allowed us to grow. And a great market will hide your weaknesses. A bad market is going to expose them. And so right now, if you go look at what's going on in your world, what has been exposed about you that now is the time that you can take advantage of to go grow in that area. This makes our careers much more fun and interesting when we have these challenging times that come in, because if there's a bold law, change the way you look at things, the things you look at begin to change. And so when we have these types of environments come in front of us, instead of having that fear factor of what's going to happen to me, what's going to happen to my money, think about where's the opportunity right now. Because right now, guys, here's the thing. I congratulate every one of you for being here on this call, because there's 99% of the real estate community out there, they're caving inwards and they're not going and growing. And this is where you can step ahead and be the best with the rest of them. I'm going to share 3 quick things, and then I'm going to open it up and to my mom. And I've got some questions that I wanted to ask her, because I think anytime that you go through a tough market, you've got to have someone that you can lean into and lean on. And on the business front for me, that's always been my mom, and it's always been my coach. And so there's just 3 quick things that I'm going to throw out there, and then we'll jump right into it. First of all, I want to know if you've got the endurance for the journey. Are you in it for the long run right now? About 7-8 years ago, I ran my first half Ironman, and I've never done a full Ironman because I've got that limiting belief thinking my body is not built for the full, because I knew what the half Ironman did to me. And I mean, it was physically one of the hardest draining things I've ever gone through in my life. And as I was finishing the finish line, I remember saying, like, I'll never do this stupid thing again. What was I thinking? The next day, I felt the exact same way. 3 days later, I go, maybe I'll do it again. And because I knew how it grew me. I remember when you start off with a 1.2 mile swim in the ocean. Then you jump on your bike and you're going roughly 57, 58 miles on the bike. Then you get off your bike and you run a half marathon. And it's basically 3 races all put together. And you have to look at it as 3 separate races. Otherwise, it'll wear you out. I got to the run, and I have 4 miles left in the run before I was to finish. And have you ever heard that phrase, mind over matter? 4 minutes left into that race. For whatever reason, that popped in my mind, because my body was telling my brain, I'm done. I'm done. You can't do this anymore. And at that point, I'm like, oh my gosh, my mindset is fighting my body right now. So my brain has to be smarter than my body. And I've got to figure out how to get through this and trick my body and what it's telling me right now. And it's the same way in our market. Our market's going to be throwing stuff at us, and we've got to trick the market with our brain and go work. We got to counter it and get after it. That would be my first thing when you talk about endurance for the journey. The last thing with regards to half Ironman, I remember being on my bike, and I remember climbing this hill, and my thighs and my hamstrings were just screaming. And And there's a guy, you know, there's something about these races. Whenever you do a half Ironman, we're an Ironman. In some cases, when you're doing a regular race, they'll come out and they'll mark your number of your bib on your shoulder and on, they have the bib on the front of you somewhere, but on your back right calf, they write another number. You know what that is? Your age. They write your age down. And do you know why they do that? Well, I don't know why they do that, to be honest with you, but I'll tell you why it helped me. Anytime I pass someone or someone passed me, if I passed someone, I thought, I'd look at their age going, holy cow, I just passed a 25-year-old. And I was twice their age. Every once in a while, a young buck would go flying by me, and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. He's younger than me. And then every once in a while, I remember coming around in that final run, and I'm running along, and you're always looking down at the back of people's calves, women, men, boys, girls. And I passed this guy, 83, and he was walking, and I'm like, now, if you remember, it was the last 4 miles of the race. I'm passing this guy. So what does that tell you about his swim and his bike? He kicked my butt. He kicked my butt. And I remember stopping. He was walking. I stopped down. I said, hey, I just want to thank you for being out here. I said, how long you been doing this? He says, well, I've been doing this for about 15 years. Now, at the time, I was 53 years old. He was 30 years older than me doing this half Ironman. And it was very inspiring to me, but he sat there, he says, all I can tell you is keep moving. Keep moving. Guys, in this market, we keep moving. If you quit moving, you quit getting up when you're supposed to get up, you're going to be one of the casualties that are going to be left on the side. Next point, dress for success. You've heard that a lot. One of the things I've discovered is that Zoom has become my world. I don't know about you guys, Monday is my busiest day for Zoom calls. When I get off, I'm so glad to be off Zoom calls. I mean, I'm thankful for them because I think it's allowed us to learn new things about ourselves and how to go do business. But one of the things, I remember Mo Anderson, who I think is going to be on tomorrow, and I hope I don't spoil a story for her. If you do, when you hear it tomorrow, act like you heard it for the first time and laugh or cheer, clap, what have you. But I remember her making the comment that she would go take her, when she used to teach music, she used to take her first graders to the opera up in downtown Oklahoma City. And when she took them in there, a lot of the other teachers would come up and go, why are your kids acting so much better than ours? And she says, I'd always tell them, wear your Sunday best. Because this is an important event. You need to wear your Sunday best. So what do kids typically do where they wear their Sunday best? They always act a little bit better. They behave a little bit better. And part of it is they show up differently. There's another guy who you're going to get to have the honor to listen to is Abe Shreve, one of my all-time favorite heroes. And Abe will say, Dan, when you get dressed up, and I messed up, guys. I didn't have my tie on today, and I apologize. But he said, Dan, when you show up in your tie, you've got your shirt, you're dressed to do business. If you don't come dressed right, you're not prepared to do business. The person that's on the other side of that Zoom call may have this different expectation of what business looks like. If you've never met him before, always dress. That's one of the other things that Mo shared. Always dress one step up above the person you're with. It doesn't mean that you're better than them. You're just showing that you are showing up ready to work and you're professional in it. Last point I'm going to give you, and then I'm going to jump in with my mom. Are you taking your meds? You may have heard this before. Now, a lot of us love to get medicated for different reasons. Whether it's Friday night and it's date night, you want to get medicated. You might be having a little bit of a nice glass of wine. I'm not talking about those types of medication.
Your mom's face changed.
I know. She's wondering where this is going. Meds, M-E-D-S. M stands for start your day with meditation. Praying to God, meditating, whatever to get your mind clear, okay? E stands for exercise. What are you going to do? Guys, here's the thing. We can choose to become, in this six weeks right here, we can be fat and get fatter. We can become lethargic. We can become, our our muscles start to atrophy. We can choose to do that, or we can choose to get up and say, hey, you know what? We're going to go out and take the dog for its 50th walk for this week. We're going to go out. We're going to go hike up a hill. We're going to go for a run, get on the bike, whatever it is, get out and go do your exercise. D, what's your diet? What are you eating right now? Are you eating the foods that fuel you? Find those foods that just make you feel better. If you go take that sugar, guys, during the day, you're gonna have an energy crash. And so do your best to do that. And then finally, S, sleep. Are you getting enough sleep? I'm going to encourage you. The schedule that you were keeping before we went to the shelter in place, you were probably getting up at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning to get your day going. Don't let your schedule change. Don't stay up and watch those late night shows and wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning. Keep your schedule in place as you're moving forward. Take your meds. So, you can have good. I hope I've offered you some good here, but I want to offer you great. I got my mom, Mary Harker, who is here. She's ready to do business. Mom, are you ready for some hard, tough questions?
Oh, yes, I am.
Okay. So guys, as I told you just a second ago, and I'm not sure why my printer's going off. It just kind of distracted me there for a second because I didn't print anything. But one of the things that I would, there's a question that was asked to me when I was a coach. I loved coming up with questions. And I know that Ashley knows what I'm talking about. And there's a question that is, I'm going to throw it out at you guys. And I want you to go back and think about this. And I'm going to take it to my mom. If today was the NFL draft day for real estate agents, and you were going to be picked by a seller or buyer among 10 other agents, where would you be selected? Would you be the first, or are you going to be the last? Okay. Where are you going to be drafted? Look at your own business. If you were to rate and rank yourself, where would you be in that business right now? Mom, when you came into this business every day, how did you go about making sure that you stayed at the top as far as selection?
I always wanted to achieve whatever I set out to do. And after the first year of making $376, and everybody thinking I was a failure, they asked me if I was going to quit, and I said, absolutely not. I make $1,000 a year teaching violin and piano, and I've only been in real estate 1 year. And if I work as hard doing that, then I'll learn something. But right now, I'm just a novice. So, of course, it cost Joe $750 to keep me in business for selling that one house and getting 10% of 3%. But from then on, I had always looked and achieved for excellence in education, training. I had always been from the time I was 2 years old. So,
awesome. Okay, so Mom, when you got, there's days that I will wake up and the motor just will not crank. And what did you do to start your motor up every day to put you in the right mindset, to put you in the right path to be on that fast pace to go out and do the business you needed to do?
Well, number one, I think sleeping is a waste of your life. So I fight going to bed. When I wake up in the morning, it's, oh, rejoice. This is the day the Lord has given me, and I rejoice, and I'm glad in it. I am thrilled to be alive. I'm thrilled to walk outside and greet the birds. And I just, when we were in a home that we faced a wall, I'd get up and I'd be at the top of the ski mountain and be ready to shoosh my way down. And I envisioned it in my mind. So whatever I always have felt like if you have a mindset, that's what you achieve. If your mindset is, oh my gosh, it's morning, where's my coffee? That's the way you'll start your day. I don't get out of bed that way. And
so let me ask you a question though. And you just talked about creating the ideal day.
Yeah.
As a real estate agent, what did an ideal day look like to you? And when did you put that day together?
The night before, always. In fact, the month before, I knew exactly who I wanted to contact, for what purpose. Everything was listed on my big calendar that sat in front of my face every day. So I knew what I was going to do, and I was on purpose from the moment I got out of bed, fixed your dad coffee and coffee for us, and then in prayer and sending you kids off to school. And once you were off to school, then I was off to the office. And I changed, I became very compartmentalized. I'm either 100% on real estate, 100% on family, 100% on your dad, whatever the case is, wherever I am, I'm 100% focused.
You know, guys, I can attest to that. I know the one thing I can remember growing up as a kid, you know, from the time I was 4 years old, I'm 56 years old now. From the time I was 4 years old, Mom was in real estate. And I remember of all the important, I was the youngest of 3 kids, of all the important moments in life, I always remember my mom or my dad being there because I knew it was a priority to them. So as you look at your own life right now, where do those priorities sit right now? Do you let something come and favor that and knock that out, or do you protect it as much as you can? So, Mom, was that ever a challenge from picking what was the right thing to do, and maybe it wasn't as, maybe you went to a second choice versus keeping that first party in place?
Yes, I can remember when Gwen was 10 and her birthday party was starting, and I came late to it, nearly missed it. And I thought, you know, this is wrong. When you say yes to real estate, you say no to family. If you say yes to family, you say no to real estate. Well, that's a juggling act. And I really feel like Gary has said it very well in counterbalancing, because you're out of balance at some time. But I worked very hard to put God, family, and business all my life in that order. And so it was balancing, but I decided I would never do something that would break a relationship.
Okay, so let me ask you a question on that. Do you remember there was a certain football player that I was helping you on, and we had won, or you had won, a trip to Bermuda with this builder, and there was the juggling act. Do I stick around to help this player? And as I recall that, I mean, obviously you were going to try to show up late and didn't get to come. And he didn't end up doing he didn't write an offer, as I recall, during the week that I was in Bermuda, and you didn't get to be there.
Right. And so that
what was the lesson you learned from that? This is not being a guilt trip on you by any means. Don't read it that way.
Clients come and go. Family is forever. Friendships are forever. And so you have to make some tough calls. And yes, I missed some things. And afterwards I thought, boy, you don't get overs. And you don't. You know, you really are saying no when you say yes to something else. So be very clear in your mind what you want to say yes to and what you want to say no to. Okay. And let your yes be your yes. Don't ever say yes if you're not going to.
Okay. So you've got a little bit of a resolve about you. And, you know, knowing you, and not everybody knows you like I know you, you've got a little bit of resolve about you. And, you know, did life start out exactly the way you expected it to be?
I'm certainly certain that my mother didn't think so. She was off at college and got a little bit, had too much fun when she was 18, and the boy was very handsome and he danced very well. And she said, well, she told him, and he said, well, I'll marry you. She said, I don't love you. And her mother took her to Fort Worth, and the social director was sitting there saying, now, how did this happen? And the mother was an English teacher and very much of a lady. And she said, well, that boy was put upon my daughter. And the social worker wrote, mother naive, daughter promiscuous. So that was the startup. Now
you have to go back. So your mother gave you up for adoption.
My birth mother did, yes, at 18.
Your birth mother, okay, gave you up for adoption. People may not have been clear on that for just.
Sorry about that. So then my mom that adopted me, my dad came home from Norwegian camp and said there's no other baby. They already had one from Fort Worth, and said there's another one up there. There's twins. Nola, why don't you go up and take a look, and if you like them, bring it home. So mother went up with a laundry basket, and I said, well, how did I come back if you went up for twins? She said, I'll tell you, this is how the twins looked. This is how you look. And I said, yes, I knew opportunity and I knew attitude after lying there for 19 days. So I came out of that situation knowing that I was a great gift to my mom. And it certainly was a gift to me because I'm still alive and we got 12 of us that are here. So that was kind of exciting. So anyway, I've always looked on it as a wonderful thing. Okay,
but did you always feel that way at the very beginning?
Oh, yes. Now, Mother said I was special, but don't tell anybody.
Well, so, but let me ask you a question. I'm not trying to lead you, but obviously I wasn't adopted. Every once in a while, as we come across people that went through that experience, sometimes they may have felt rejected.
Well, I understand that. And what I've never understood about that is I'm so grateful to have my life and to have been the gift to my mom after she waited for 10 years for me, that how could I not be grateful? I have my life, and I wouldn't have you 3 kids or the 8 grandkids or your dad. My goodness. So for me, it's just very foreign when I hear that, and I don't understand it. Maybe it's the way Mother handled it. You know, yes, I got beat up when I told my best friend in the 5th grade that I was adopted because nobody else in school was. But Mother said, well, they had to take her. We chose you. I said, okay. Then I got married to Joe at 16. Mother said, well, you better tell him. And I said, Mom, I tried that once. It didn't work out very well. And he said, so? So I thought, oh, well, okay. So anyway, I've been so happy all my life. And when Johnny and I would come down in the morning, and I truly feel, Mother was saying, the only time we heard the word feelings was that morning when she'd pick up my sleeve and she'd say, oh, Mary, I see you're wearing your feelings on your sleeve and I don't like the looks of them. And that meant go in the bathroom, look in the mirror and say, good morning, God. And after 70 plus years, that's a habit. So I grew up knowing that I was to find the joy in life, and it was up to me to not let anyone steal my joy. Nobody. So if they're having a bad day, I'm sorry. I'm going to go have a great day.
Yeah.
Because I don't have enough hours left in the day to have a bad hour, let alone a bad day.
There you go.
So that's
what I like. So
yeah.
Mom, how did be, you know, you've got this great attitude and this great mindset based on 2 great adoptive parents, how they spoke into you, etc. You know, you jump into the work world, you become a real estate agent. And as real estate agents, we're constantly out interviewing for jobs. And from time to time, we get rejected. People don't want to work with us. How did you deal with that? Did the mindset change any or the attitude change around that? What did you do?
Well, after selling one house and knocking on the door and the lady slammed the door in my face, I went around to the back and knocked again. And I said, well, I hope you're friendlier than the lady at the front door. And she laughed and she said, well, come on in. And then I used her as a bird dog in the neighborhood. She told me about everyone. Now, don't ever tell her everything. But if she said, well, Charlene might be selling her house. Oh, do you mind giving me her name? Do you mind giving me her phone number? Do you mind making the call? Oh, yes, I do. Well, then I'd go home and I'd say, I promised I would call you. And so here I am. I understand you may need a little help. Now, I told him I was a real estate expert after selling one house in the first year. Imagine that. Goodness. And I knew very little because they didn't train in those days. They just said, here's a sign and go tell people you want to sell them a house or sell a house for them. So there wasn't any training, but I sought it out. And Danny Hopkins had just come on the scene, and I took to heart everything he said, which was do first things first, second things never.
Wow.
So,
okay. So
Dan, can I ask, what year did she start?
1968. This is 52nd year, and yes, I sold a house this year and sold one last year just to see if I was still in practice. It doesn't go away. But Dan has been wonderful. It took me, oh my goodness. It was hard to release the reins, frankly. But anyway, when Joe says he wants to do other things and go to Colorado, I said I want to go. So 62 years of marriage, and we're still going strong.
That's it. Awesome. Hey, so let me ask you a question. With you starting real estate back in '68, how many recessions have you worked through in that time period? Because now keep in mind, Mom, as I ask that question, for everybody on the call, there's a little over 1,400,000 members of the National Association of Realtors. They were talking about that in the next 3 years that they were going to be seeing a decline in that could get well under 1 million agents. And a lot of people we're probably going to see leave this business as a result of what's happening right now, just trying to support their family. How many did you go through, and how did you approach them if you knew where they were coming? Or in our case, we didn't know this was coming the way. How did you work through that? How did you approach it? How many first have you gone through?
Oh, there's what I would call a crisis every single decade. The one that I experienced that I would say impacted me was 1986. And none of the real estate industry even recognized that it was going into a crisis when the mortgage companies absolutely went. And maybe that was special to Texas, I'm not sure, but the mortgage companies failed. And we were sitting at very high interest where they had points, 7 to 10 points to make up. And I'd never heard of 3, 4, 5, 6. Probably the lowest I'd ever heard of was 6%. But it was very high. But you got in not knowing what you didn't know. Okay, and in my case, I had never watched the news in the morning. That wasn't a part of my life because it didn't matter what they were doing. It mattered what our family was doing and the education we were getting, the training we were getting, and what we were going to do with that. There wasn't time to watch TV for things like that. And so we were very fortunate because we didn't have that outside negative, horrible, everybody being upset all the time. You know, that wasn't part of my life. And I figured if we were at war and what something or crisis, Dad would tell me. Watched it. and I didn't concern myself with things that probably today I would have, but in 86 when it happened suddenly. And we were caught with 50 listings and they weren't selling. And what I learned during that time is real estate is always needed. Buyers either have to buy or they have to sell. We took many, many builders to the title company who brought money to the title company. That killed me. And one day, one of my favorite builders, Mr. Darnell, said, "Oh, Mary, don't feel so bad about it." He said, "You know, when times are good, we really get next to the buyer." So it taught me that there are going to be ups and downs, but from day one, my parents had stressed, save money for a rainy day, penny saved, penny earned. It's not what you make, it's what you retain. We had never spent money like everybody else. When Branna failed in 72, that was a crisis in our life, or in 1970. Didn't fail. It furloughed Joe for 2 years. He was without being a pilot. He had been a pilot in the Air Force after we finished college. And from the Air Force, Vietnam, we went through Vietnam. When we first got in, it was the Cuban crisis. And the U-2 was being shot down. It was a pretty severe time, but we just kept moving on. I was raised to be a violinist and a concert violinist and a pianist. My mother was a concert artist. And I was raised to achieve. Didn't matter what was going on outside there. Dad owned newspapers, radio stations, so he certainly was aware of anything that was happening and expected us to know the politics and whatnot, but he didn't dwell on the negative. It wasn't as negative in those days at all. And we all got together when 86 happened and said, okay, the press is saying that Dallas is going to heck in a handcart, and the oil industry has failed, et cetera, et cetera. And if you bring it back, we promise not to whiz it away again, and so forth and so on. We got together with Ebby Holliday, who was the big dog in town, and said, okay, let's go to the newspapers and cut out all the advertising, because all they do is negatively impact the real estate market by telling everybody how bad it was. And we formed a group of about 12 of us that were top producers, all different companies. They thought we were proselyting, which in those days was Gallery of Homes and Remax. And I didn't care who the people were with as long as they were top agents, because top agents have top problems, and they have them totally different than just agents that are trying to survive, as I learned when I was trying to survive. And they get bigger problems. You know, you take more risk, and especially when you get into ownership and whatnot. So
go ahead, Mom.
I just faced that with whatever was happening, to be as knowledgeable as I need to be, and go keep on doing what I'd always done, which is to help buyers and help sellers, help relocate.
So if I heard you right, top, and I'm going to add some, top agents that you lean into have top problems, but they also have top solutions.
Yes, they do.
That's one of the great things, guys, is find those accountability partners, those support people you can get around and say, hey, this is what's going on. What are you doing here? You know, I love to go.
May I interrupt you for a second?
Sure.
Don't just do it with agents. Do it with the leadership in the city. I had car dealers, bankers, mortgage people, title people outside of our industry. What are you doing? What are the 3 things that made you most successful? And I quizzed them about it, and they were plenty glad to help. You just need to ask them, what is the question you have? And they'll try to answer.
That's right. So what I heard you say, you know, my mom, she'll hijack me, and then she does. I told her I wouldn't do it to her to get her off track. Now she's done it to me. I've gotten off track. So,
sorry.
No, that's all good, because this is your time. But what I was just, lean into those people, because find out what they're doing over here, because it may help you over here, just like what my mom just mentioned. Find out what those other professions are doing, because they exist in this market. I also heard there, you've gone through different crises over time, and you did what Gary says. You act as if it's a down market all the time.
All the time.
Work differently. If you act like it's a down market all the time, you're going to show up differently. You're going to prospect differently. You're going to follow up differently. You're going to convert faster. You shared a story with me, Mom, when we were talking earlier, when you're working for Gallery Homes, Frances Powell, and up until the time she set a challenge out there, do you remember this story?
Are you talking about
when you said she put a competition out there amongst the agents?
Oh, yeah.
What did that do for you, and what were you doing before that competition? What did you do after the competition?
Well, I had been that first year, I was with a loan broker who only came in Monday, Wednesday, and Friday after 11. I had to go back and pick Dan up at kindergarten. So I didn't do too well 9 to 11. It was the only time I could work, because Joe didn't want me to be part-time, or he wanted me to be part-time. Anyway, question?
Hey, did y'all see that squirrel go flying by?
Yeah.
So, Mom, you had talked about before that time, you'd gotten one house under contract, but when she threw that
with a competition, yeah,
yes.
Yeah, I'm a little competitive. I had an older brother. That makes a sister very competitive. You know, when you're competition, she said, if the first person to get 10 6 listings out of whatever number you have to go. Tommy Hopkins had said you have to get 21 people that you ask the question for, and you'll get 20 no's or 17 no's, and then you'll get one that'll talk to you and then withdraw, one that will actually list with you and that'll expire, and then one that'll sell, something like that. So Frances set it up as to the first person to get 6 out of 10 would be the winner. So I went out and I got 6 in the first 6 tries.
Wow.
And I just knocked on the door and I said, I'm your real estate expert, and I think you might learn something, and if you don't mind, I'd like to know what the market is. And I'd walk in and compliment something and try to be walking in their shoes. And they seemed to call me back and say, well, and I wasn't an expert at all, had absolutely no training, but I knew that if I worked hard at getting training, that within 5 years, I'd be as good as that person who was in that spot.
Yeah. Hey, so Mom, let me ask you a question. So your business was built on doing prospecting that way, but that really wasn't, there was really 2 things that you were known for. was the penetration of your database and how well you stayed in touch with them, and also relocation.
Yes.
Now, this is before relocation was a separate business you had to pay a referral fee for. And a bunch of the business that came into our business was referrals from other agents. Now, obviously, there's lots of different ways to go get leads out there. You can go buy them. You can go put the sweat equity in, go earn them. You can have those relationships. What was your go-to source for business immediately to keep yourself on track?
The very first convention I went to, I was sitting across having a box lunch and started talking, and the fellow said, I think I have somebody in Dallas that wants to buy or sell. And I said, well, I can help them. I know I can. And so that became, I was just astounded. My goodness, this isn't so hard. So I did a little talk there, and a lady came up to me afterwards, and she found out Joe and I were sponsors at church, and I was playing in the symphony, and I was doing real estate and so forth, and had 3 kids. And she said, oh, Mary, you changed my life. I said, what was it I said? And she said, if you can do it, anybody can do it. And so I thought, well, I'm going to network at the conventions. I started teaching. I started sitting down at the box lunches, anything I could do to share the knowledge I had and what were the top tips they could give me in their books, what they had done smart. And then I would take a picture of all of us, send it back to them. And they were so astounded that they would get a picture back. And I said, use it in your benefits to your seller, that you have gone off and leading edge ideas from the top people around the United States, and that you were doing relocation with them. And here are some of the things that you learn, and put that in the paper. And in those days, they were hungry for anything that was different. And so they would print whatever it was that I put into the paper on. Mary's been to the convention and has met Stephen Covey. What do they have in common? Covey has 7 habits of highly effective people. Mary has 5-star specialized treatment of the buyers and sellers, or something of that sort. And so conventions became an absolute networking mega for me. And based on how hard I worked at the convention to network, to establish new relationships and new referrals, that set up our whole year. And I went to, at that point, Gallery or Remax, KW followed later, conventions, and we would set up a breakfast for the top 100 people, and all of us would join in and share ideas. We shared everything, because the more you share, the more you plus your own ideas and add to theirs.
Awesome, awesome. So one of the other things, guys, I'll tell you that what the Harker team has done, we have a list of everybody that is in our database, our sphere of influence. And we've gone through, I've had everybody on the team go through. I want you to go look at your own list of people, and out to the side, I want you to write down all the interests that that person that you know about has. If y'all remember Harvey McKay, he wrote the book, How to Swim with Sharks Without Being Eaten Alive. Beware of the naked man who offers his shirt. He wrote those 2 books. He was a networking guru. And he had this thing, you can actually go into the Google and search it. It's called the McKay 66, MCKAY 66. And it's 66 questions. He answers it. He had his salespeople answer about their clients. What's your favorite football team? What's your favorite food? What's your favorite vacation spot? Had all these different questions. And so we had taken this idea and we said, you know what, how can we use this in real estate? So we went and picked out our, if you have a list of 2,000 people, I went in, I pulled out my top 100 people who has referred me business, who's done business with us time and time again. And we went to Google and went to my assistant and I said, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to go into Google and I want you to put individual searches in, and I'm going to give you the topic. So let me say, Ashley Lunn. Ashley Lunn loves people. She loves to travel. And so I'm going to put in there, and I know that she loves plays on Broadway. So I want to put a search in Google for all the anything new about a Broadway play coming up, or some exciting news about something that's just happened while the play's online. Anytime something comes up, I want to clip that article out and I'm going to fold it up and I'm going to put an envelope. I'm going to send it to Ashley and say, Ashley, I just saw this. I know you love Broadway musicals. And I just want to let you know, I was thinking about you. I hope you enjoy this article. And we went in and we did automatic Google searches of all our best clients. So we always had something coming in so we could reach out and have a conversation with them. Because if you talk about what they like, they're going to sometimes come back and talk about what we like. And so, especially during these times, we're investing to dig that relationship a little bit deeper. So, Mom, let me come back and ask you a question. We as agents, we get stuck from time to time in something's not working. I remember you telling a story about Lou McKernan, but we get stuck and we don't know how to get out of being unstuck. Whether we're in this right now, we're in our 6th week, trying to figure out new ways to talk to our people. What are the ways that you helped get yourself unstuck to get you back on track?
The first thing I ask is, what am I not doing that I did when I was successful? And usually it has to do with attitude. And when I have the right attitude and pick up that phone and start filling the bucket of somebody else's issues. Everybody's hurting right now. And to be able to stop by and say, or not stop by, call by and text whatever it is you want to do and say, what's going on in your world? I just want to check on you. You're so important to me. And we haven't touched base in a very long time. And I'm so sorry about that, but life has gone on. So how are you doing? And be interested in them, because that's what they need right now. They need to have people care and who will reach out. What's going on in their world? We've never had where we have to shelter in place. You know, that's kind of crazy in our world. But anyway, it's what's happening, isn't it?
Absolutely. So and Ashley, I'm going to turn it over to you in just a second for any follow-up questions, but how did you keep yourself, Mom, on what I call you people say the cutting edge, about the bleeding edge? How do we keep ourselves on the front edge right now to stay in front of our clients? What did you do?
You have to contact them. Networking with them is the key thing. And if you can always be safe by sending them. Remember when you sent Chicken Soup for the Soul out to your readers, and all of a sudden the listings just poured in. So why couldn't you take that with virtual now and do the very, very same thing? Just send them a little article and then call up and say, come on, let's discuss this. What was it that really didn't? I think you have to send very positive things right now, because you can't let anything steal your joy. When you let something steal your joy, you're worthless. You're just, feel like, oh, I'm so hopeless. I don't know what to do. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Just dig deeper. And my dad used to say, pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. You made your bed, lay in it. Do you like that? Get out of it then and start working. Don't be doing those things that are, you've got to send hopeful messages. What is their hope resting in? This too shall pass. You look at all these pandemics, 1918, 1919, my father and his brother, World War II had just come out of it. The flu hit and it killed thousands and thousands of people. And you didn't know if you were going to wake up the next day or not, but you just did what you needed to do to learn, to train your mind. It's all about training your mind. If you let your mind go into horrible and ain't it awful, you're going to have a very hard time. And I think
this is what's the kind of neat thing about having friends like Ashley and having people like Mom and whoever that is in your life. That's when you're down, I need someone to come in and either pick me up or kick my butt, and kick the stuff to the side. So we've got to find those people. I always you think about the boxer who gets knocked down, but he keeps getting back up, and everybody's like, stay down, you're going to get hurt again. It's like, get back up. Just keep fighting for another day.
Yeah, there's so much on KW now that'll inspire and encourage and teach that we don't have any excuse, do we?
No, we don't. Hey, one thing I just want to, Ashley, just before I come to you, I'm going to encourage everybody to jump back in. If you have not listened to Think Like a CEO by Gary Keller, the podcast, I'm going to encourage you to go back in. He's been talking about models and systems. There's something that struck me that when he was talking about it, and some of you may have heard it already, but he was talking about everything that we do every day is a model. Everything is a system that we have in place. When you get out of bed in the morning, when I get out of the bed in the morning, first thing I do is I put on my t-shirt and I'll walk into the restroom and I go take care of brushing my teeth. I get a drink of water. I go to the bathroom and I walk out to go feed the dogs, put them where they're supposed to go. And then I sit on my couch. It's time to do my meditation, time to do my praying. And I didn't go out and just do it. That just is, every time I go back and look at my schedule, it's always been that system, that model. I have never just said, all right, I need to look at a calendar. It just was a system. And he says, take that and use that in your business right now. You realize that all the money and all the businesses that you're closing right now is a result of a model and a system that you've had in place. Are you happy with the results that you have right now? If you're not, we got to go tweak that model. I mean, I'm doing it in my own world right now. I'm sitting there. I sat listening to a guy the other day. He says, hey, my goal is just to have 50 conversations a day. That's all I focus on. He says, I have a piece of paper in front of me, and I just start, every time I get on the call, I write down their name, the result of the conversation. And I have to get to 50, because if I'm working 10 hours a day, that's 5 conversations an hour. So if I can have 50 conversations in that day, maybe your goal is to have 75 conversations. Or maybe it's the goal is I want to list a house a day, or help someone buy a house a day, or someone negotiate a house a day. Figure out what that is to tweak that model that'll give you the different results. So anyway, there we are, Ashley. Anything else to add, Mom? Ashley, any questions that you have?
Let Ashley go for it here.
Well, there's no questions in the chat box. I'm surprised. There's just, they've very much enjoyed this. And I knew they would because of the energy that comes through. What is the Harker team still in operation?
I would say yes. I hope so. Dan,
I sure hope so.
Are you working, Dan?
I sure hope so. Yeah, no, we're still very much in business. We're in our 52nd year. Last year we did 53 million, 130 sides. We're on track for that. You know what? We're still on track to go do that because it's going to happen. I got to make it happen. I've got to come up with the sales, or I've got to find the people that are contributors are going to come on the team to do it. So the goal, you know, Gary talks about, the goals haven't changed. Our models, our systems, and our people will have to maybe change or be added to adjust it.
And so what's your role on the team, Dan? And then tell them how to get a hold of you, because we just talked about relocation and referral business. You should at least plug for that.
Well, I appreciate that. What was the first question on top before that?
What's your role on the team?
So I'm the rainmaker. I'm the leader. I'm the pack leader. And I find that if I don't set the bar, at times it doesn't happen. And I have to show up every day ready to go. You're either the thermometer or you're the thermostat. You're either setting the temperature or you're allowing the temperature to be set around you and you're just reacting to it. And so that's my job, is going and set the temperature and let's go make it happen. I still do listings. I refer most of my buyers off, you know, because I know that my number one job, if this is all individual agents and team leaders, Gary talks about, we have 2 jobs: lead generate for leads and lead generate for talent.
That's it.
That's my job. And so I've got to, the reason I have people help my buyers, I can get a lot more done. Now, if it's someone who's very critical and it's important, I'll go work with that buyer.
Or you'll call your mom.
What's that?
Or you'll call your mom.
There you go. There you go. But no, we're in the Dallas. We cover the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and my email is dan@danharker.com, and my number is 214-957-1111. I'm always happy to help out, even if it's just questions that you have about the market or even just about real estate in general.
Got one question that just popped up. How many people do you have on that $53 million team?
We've got, besides myself, 4 other agents.
And your admin?
3 full-time admin.
And did you say it was 130 units?
Yes. So our average sales price this last year was $425 on the listing side and $410 on the buyer side. Now,
I wouldn't expect any different, but I love that you know your numbers.
But you know, the thing that's interesting about this, so I'm in my 26th year in this business. The houses that I'm selling right now are the exact same houses I was selling when I got into this business. They were averaging 175,000 back then. They've all adjusted. Now, a lot of my friends, as they're older, they've gone up in value. So we've seen a few more high end, not like what you guys have out there, but high end for us. We're seeing a lot more of that as well.
Awesome. All right. What can we do to help you two?
Send referrals.
In addition to that.
We have enough.
So I'm gonna leave you with 2 things. Now I can't see everybody's face. I can't see everybody's hand. I'm going to encourage you that if you have not signed up for the Bold Pivot, to sign up for Bold Pivot. It starts on the 5th of May, and it's 4 weeks straight, every Tuesday, every Thursday from, well, at least in the Dallas here, it's 1 to 3. So it may be a different time where you're at, Ashley. But it's $99 to take this. Total, $99. And they've taken a combination of Shift, Bold 2.0, and then everything that's going on with the pandemic right now, they're wrapping it all in this one package, and you can do it from the safety and comfort of your own home. Secondly, I'll mention is that MAPS Coaching is offering free coaching during the month of May for brand new MAPS clients. And so if you have wondered what that looks like, and guys, even if here's what I'd suggest. I challenge you to go give it a try for free for the time period they offer. And if at the end of it, don't buy it. Do not buy it if it didn't make any difference for you. I would encourage you to consider keep going with it if it did do something to your mindset or it did something to your business, because I'm going to bet that it does.
What's interesting, and I'll just say this, I know most of my people know that I no longer am a coach for MAPS, and neither are you. However, we're both still clients.
Yeah, I have 2 coaches, and they're both MAPS coaches, and they coach me on 2 different things. I've done this for 25 years. There's been times I've contemplated stopping, and there's one person who comes up every time I've thought that mindset. It's been my wife. She goes, all things you can quit, don't quit coaching, getting coach. She knows it makes a difference for me in my life and my business. And part of it, it's like Bold. I go to Bold for mindset and accountability. That's it. And my biggest challenge that I have in my world, you've heard that story. You have 2 wolves, a wolf on this side and a wolf on this side. One's positive, one's negative. Which one are you feeding every day? And I'm sitting there every day feeding the positive as much as I can. And I'm fighting my mindset every time. I'm fighting the mindset and I'm finding the activities. When I have accountability, they help me look beyond that, look outside that. So anyway, sorry for it sounds like a commercial I just did, and it probably was. So, but
thank you. It's all right. And it's amazing because obviously your mom is so positive. And yet you of course inherited some of that.
Yeah. And
yet you're like me. There are days you probably get up and it's a challenge to get everything in the right line.
Well, I just encourage you, if there's something, the old phrase he talks about, get comfortable being uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. If you're comfortable in your business right now, it's probably because you're not doing the things you need to do.
Or at least not at the level you need to do.
14 hours.
That's it. Yeah. So something about 14 hours there. But we need to get uncomfortable. And that might mean, okay, I am going to, instead of making 75 calls, let's see if I can make 80 calls.
Well, and here's the thing, Dan, we can choose in which way we get to be uncomfortable, or we can just sit and we're going to be uncomfortable in a way we don't want to be.
Mm-hmm. It's a choice.
Yeah.
You choose either the pleasure or the pain that you want.
That's it.
That's what I love about Ashley. If we had 2 boxing gloves on right now, it's punch, counter punch. And, but I love,
From what I'm a little faster from what I've experienced. So,
you know what? Listen, tell yourself whatever you want to tell yourself, Ashley.
I love you, man.
Hey, this has been a pleasure getting to be with you. Mom, anything else that you'd like to add in there?
Such a blessing to be with each of you, and really, I know that y'all are going to make it just through just fine, and just keep knowing that. And you can always ask the guy upstairs. He's a real good provider. So,
hey, so real quick, hey, Diana, are you still coaching?
Diana Sullivan is not coaching.
Okay. Well, there was a question that I just saw on that. How many calls and maps given away for free in May? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find that answer out.
I know it, Dan. So what the deal is it's a full month. It's 4 coaching calls. However, yes, May is free. You must commit to a year contract to get that.
Okay.
And if you choose to cancel after that free period, then you're on the hook for 1 month, which is $1,000.
Okay. So, all right. Can we have a real conversation here for just a moment?
Of course.
How many of you out there have a limiting belief? I mean, I'm right there with you. You know what? I don't want to spend $1,000 a month. I'm talking about a full coaching, if I'm getting coached. I don't want to spend that a month. However, if there's some idea or some action that has taken place that could help me what's the average sales price in San Diego?
Our average GCI is
15,000 per commission.
Yeah.
So one sell, you've actually made money and it paid for coaching.
A year of coaching.
A year of coaching. So if you get, guys, just think about this. You guys are all smart people because y'all showed up here today. And if you just invest that, it's a no-brainer. So here's I've got the joke of the day. Do you know why the zombies don't eat the mannequins? No brainer.
Oh, jeez.
I heard that today and I thought, you set me up.
Oh, man.
That was awesome.
Robert, you're going to have to steal that one. All right. Well, I appreciate you guys so much. We are actually 3 minutes over.
Oh, thank you, Ashley.
I really hope I get to see you this year at some event.
Oh,
oh my goodness.
Hey, you know what'll happen?
Hugs.
I'll be protecting myself when I see you. Hey, thanks guys. We love you. Thank you very much. And if we can do anything to help out, if you have any questions just about real estate or mindset or coaching, or you want to pass along a referral, we'll be happy to take your call.
we certainly will be.
All right. Thank you. Take care.
Thanks. Bye-bye.